Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me again today. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make carne asada street tacos. You guys, these tacos are so good. They are so easy to make, and I think you guys are really going to love them. So for the recipe, we're going to be using 2 pounds of flank steak, a half of a large white onion, 4 garlic cloves, 2 jalapeno peppers, the juice from 2 limes, a half a bunch of cilantro, 2 teaspoons of adobo seasoning, 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of garlic pepper, 2 teaspoons of dried oregano, a half a cup of soy sauce, and a half a cup of orange juice. Okay, so this recipe, we are going to marinate this steak. I'm just going to start out by adding a little bit of oil. I'm using olive oil, but you guys, any oil that you have on hand is totally fine. And then I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle on all of the dry seasonings. And I'm just going to kind of get these just all over the meat. I'm adding in the oregano as well. Whenever you guys use dried herbs, try to crush them up a little bit in your fingers before you add them. It helps to open up the flavors, release the oils, and just kind of gives them a better overall effect. And then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to get in here and I'm just going to get this seasoning coated around all of the meat. So a nice even coating of the seasonings on the meat there. And I'm just doing this in a glass bowl. You guys can do this in a Ziploc bag as well. That actually might work a little bit better. And then I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze all of my limes in here. So the juice from 2 limes. And I'm just going to get all of the pulp and everything down in there. So that's good. And then I'm going to get a 1/4 cup of soy sauce and I'm going to add this in. And you guys, soy sauce is very, very salty. So this is where we're getting our salt for this marinade. So you guys do not need to add extra salt to this unless you want to, of course. That is always an option. And then if you guys have fresh oranges, that would be better, but I didn't have any today. So I'm just using a cup of good quality orange juice. And then I'm throwing in about a half of a bunch of cilantro here. And I'm just going to put a rough chop on this. So I'm not too worried about it chopping it up too much, but I do want to cut it up into smaller pieces. And this is more so that I can move it around easier in the bowl. And then I'm just going to use half of this onion and I'm just going to give that a little bit of a rough chop. Same reason, just so I can move it around and get the onion evenly coated on the meat. And same thing with the jalapenos. I'm going to cut these stems off here. Get rid of those, and then I'm just going to cut this into kind of thick slices. Guys, if you're sensitive to chilies, it's a good idea to use gloves. If you're only touching the outside of the chili, it's kind of the shiny part, it's probably not going to penetrate into your skin as badly as if you touch the inside of the jalapeno. So in this case, we didn't really touch it, but if you do have sensitive skin, wear gloves when you're working with chilies. Then I'm just smashing the crap out of my garlic and giving it a little bit of a rough chop. And none of this has to be perfect. We're only using these flavors, these vegetables for flavoring, and we're not going to actually use them in the finished product. So it doesn't have to look that pretty. So we're throwing that in there. And then I'm just putting in a little bit of pepper. And I did mention earlier not to add salt. I did add a little bit of salt into this, but I think it was a little bit too salty. And that's why I'm letting you guys know that I would stick with just the soy sauce. So now I'm just going to get in there. And I do have these gloves. These ones are kind of a pain. They're big and they don't fit well. So if you guys can find some of the tighter gloves, it makes it a lot easier. And I'm just going to get in there and I'm just going to move all these veggies around, get the steak evenly coated in the veggies and the juice marinade. And then I'm just going to press it down. And you guys, let this go. Let this marinade for at least 4 hours. But if you can let it go for at least 24 hours, and I would say, I don't know if I'd go for 48. That might be a bit too much because eventually the citrus juice will actually start to cook the meat. But I did let this marinade, I would say, for about 26 hours, and it was very, very flavorful. So minimum of 4 hours in the fridge and up to, let's say, 36 hours. Okay, so I'm just going to press the saran wrap down right directly on the meat just to kind of keep the air out of there. And then like I said, I let this go for 24 hours. So this is 24 hours later. And I'm just going to go ahead because the steak is thin. and it's going to cook really quickly. So you want to make sure that you get your pan really, really nice and heated up, and that you have everything kind of ready to go by the time you cook the steak. So I'm just finely chopping up some white onion and some cilantro. So I'm gonna do my tacos kind of like a street style today. So I'm using the little tiny street taco tortillas, and so I'm just kind of like imitating what I get at our like local taco trucks and things like that. So you can see I got these cute little tortillas. I love these things. And I'm just gonna throw these on my grill, and I'm just using this grill because this is what I happen to have out, because this is what I'm gonna cook my steak on. So that's why I'm throwing these on here, but a flat top grill would work better in this situation. And then I'm just brushing them with a little bit of vegetable oil, and then I'm flipping them over, and I'm gonna just brush the other side with the vegetable oil as well. If you guys don't want to add the extra calories by adding in the oil, you could use like a cooking spray, and you could just do them dry as well. But I really feel like the tortillas are gonna be kind of live up to their best potential if you do add a little bit of oil to them. It just makes them taste better, and it just makes the texture a lot better. So these have sat here for just a few minutes, so I'm just flipping them over. You can see I do have some grill marks on a few of them. This grill was not heating evenly. I did have some problems with it. Just on a side note, if you guys can do this on an outside grill under like a flame, it would be much, much better, and the quality would be much better. So there's my steak. So I'm just gonna throw it down, and I'm just gonna grill it all, this big old chunk together. And then I want to grill some jalapenos as well. So I just added a little bit of vegetable oil on them, and then I'm just adding a little bit of garlic pepper. This one is very salty, so I like to use this one when I am, wanting to add more salt. And so I'm just adding that onto the jalapenos, and I'm just gonna let those grill. And then I'm just turning the steak the opposite way, and the only reason I'm doing this is because I want to get those like crisscross grill marks on the steak, so you can see there. So that's how you guys accomplish that. Let it go, and when you're cooking steak, you really need to leave it alone and just let it sit. Okay, so again, and this, has been several minutes have passed since I'm flipping this. Obviously, this is a video, but and then I'm just flipping it the other way again to get those grill marks on there. And then I'm just moving that down just so I can get my other piece of steak on here as well. And this steak turned out so good, but honestly, if I would have had it on an outside grill, I think it would have been incredible. So, all right. And so I'm just pulling this off, and I did let this meat rest. You guys don't cut the meat right away. You need to let it sit for a good 10 minutes after you've pulled it off the grill. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow the juice in the steak to kind of settle down. If you were to cut this right away, all of the juice would run out of the steak, and it would just be very dry. And then whenever you guys are cutting a flank steak or a skirt steak, you can see there's long pieces of muscle tissue running up and down the steak. So you want to cut very thinly, and you want to cut against that, so that turns those long thin strips into tiny short pieces. And that's how you're going to get the tenderness out of this steak. So it's really it really has nothing to do with the marinade itself or with the way that it's cooked. It has to do with the way that you're cutting this meat. And so you can see I'm just trying to get very, very thin strips. And this meat turned out pretty rare. So what I ended up doing, and I didn't get this on camera, I just went ahead and threw this in a little saute pan, and I just cooked this up until it was a little bit more well done. Just, because my kids, they don't like the rare steak, so I couldn't serve this to my kids. But I did go ahead and do that in a little saute pan, and it didn't dry the meat out or make it less juicy or less delicious or anything. It worked really good. But it just browned it up so that it was, something that my children would eat. So I'm just going to plate up my tacos. So I'm just doubling these tortillas. And then I'm just throwing on the steak, and you guys can see it's not quite as rare as it was when I was cutting it. But it is very, very juicy, and it was still absolutely delicious and amazing. So, okay, and then we're just throwing on some of our onions and cilantro. You guys, obviously, you can dress these tacos any way that you want, any way that you guys, think is going to be delicious. If you want to throw cheddar cheese on them and lettuce, do whatever you want. It's your food, it's your kitchen, you're the one eating it. So, This is an avocado salsa that I made, and I did not get this on video. I will redo this salsa and try to get a video out of it, but I do apologize. I do not have this recipe on video. I can add it into the description bar though. Okay, and then this is an chili de arbol salsa that I made, and then I'm just using some queso fresco, and this cheese is so good and so creamy, and I just love crumbling it. It's just so satisfying and beautiful, and the texture is great. It's kind of like a feta, but it's not quite the same. It's a little bit more chewy, I would say, but it just added the perfect amount of like sweetness and chilled out the arbol salsa, and just really made these tacos perfect. So I would highly recommend dressing the tacos this way, or at least giving it a try. So there they are, our beautiful carne asada street tacos. You guys, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notifications bell so that you guys don't miss any of my videos. And thanks for watching, and have a great day, and I'll see you guys in my next video.